machine. So John's gonna get it moving here a little bit, but basically the XC100 is our 6-inch chuck, A25 spindle, 10 horsepower machine, box way. Takamaz really likes box way, hand scraped, diamond lapped. So what this is showing you here, you can see what it's showing you here. Just doing some turning on this. We're using basically a Takamaz. So we're going to come down in just a moment, and we're going to be doing the unloading. Give it a moment. So unload, basically air blow, load it back on, and then finished parts are going on the outfeed conveyor, which is over in the back side. So this is the in-feed conveyor. I'm getting a little back play. Anybody who's, can you mute somebody else? I don't know. This is the in-feed conveyor here. So you see the parts coming down. One very exciting thing that we've added onto this machine is, you see it has a Y-turn device. So the Y-turn device is going to basically pick up the part and turn it like that, horizontal, so that we can do a load unload function. You can see we use 2-jaw hands for this. So one really exciting thing that we offer now, it's not showing on here, but over here, so you can see, you can back up a little bit. Let me show me. See here, the Y-turn device is flipping it in this fashion here. So what I've talked about in the past, and it's we sell a lot of these with this machine, you know, for basically a $100,000 machine, we can get a turn device. So we have a turn device. So this turns apart in this fashion here to turn it from basically, if the parts are standing up, it turns it in this fashion here so that the loader fingers can grab the part. By the way, we can also pick the part up directly off of the belt as well, like as if you had a pencil on the belt. So you can pick it directly off the belt. But one thing that we've added here, to be able to do kind of a poor man's 10-20 operation, we've added to this device, we've added a turn function like this. So enabling you to basically come over and load the part in to do it up 10, and then the loader can come back over to the turn device, flip it, and we can come back and put it in the chuck. As long as you can chuck on the same diameter, or use a step chuck or what have you, it allows you to basically do a 10-20 automated $100,000 machine. So it's really, really good, because, you know, a lot of the parts today that I find, especially non-automotive parts, where they don't really have that big volume, and you come at them with a $250,000 twin spindle, and it's just too much capital, it's too much money. So many times this option really helps out, because they want part complete for labor. They don't want to have to run it in twice to do the other side of the operation. And it really gives that opportunity to have to do a 10-20 for lower volume and parts that are in a fairly wide variety. So back to this machine a little bit further. So uses the Takamaz loader PLC, Fanuc control, as I mentioned, box way. I'm going to show you in the back of the machine in just a moment here. You notice here too, I don't want to get too close, this is our part pusher. So this is something more specific to Takamaz. So this is actually, it'll come in there and actually pushes the part in against the work stop. And if it doesn't get in all the way, there's a sensor, there's a front and back sensor on this that if the part didn't get pushed in all the way, or there was no part in there, it'll give you a fault. It'll fault out, so it'll save you from doing any kind of misloading. Now, we also offer air seating, which is a little bit different. We can also offer air seating for seating the part as an option on this machine. Now, the way I package the XC100s is I bring them in with without chuck, but has the hydraulic chucking cylinder and a side here. It's also bringing in with a torquoid pump. So the torquoid pump is the high pressure pump. It's about 300 PSI. And we also include the 2 valves. So the 2 valves allow you to M-code switch between spindle through coolant and the high pressure coolant to the turret. So that's M code switching that allows you to do that. So come around the back a little bit here. This is where the chip conveyor comes in. I also include a chip conveyor.
Canceled twice in the last 4 years.
So basically comes up here, and don't have it right here right now, but that's where that is. So let's come on around back to the front. So again, that's the XC100 machine. So what I want to show you now a little bit is included to the bin picking. So let me show you where the machine stops. The machine basically stops right here. You can see the in and the out feed conveyors. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. Hey, back up. Let me show you one more thing. One nice thing about this, and to make it a very, very quick system, we do a pickup and a drop off at the same time. So you'll be able to see when it grabs a part, because the parts are, because the conveyors are in line with the loading fingers and the unloading fingers. We do a pickup of the blank part and a drop off of the finished part at the same time. The other nice thing about the system cycle time is that you can see sometimes when you can use conveyors, you can convey the parts in very close to the chuck. So you see the distance between the in conveyor and the chuck is very short. So it makes for a very quick system time, as opposed to taking the part out from a stalker on a gantry and bring it all the way in and all the way down and so on. So it's a lot faster system cycle time. So this configuration is also very good if you've got short cycle time or short cut time parts. One other great feature of this. So let's talk a little bit more about the material handling. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the random bin picking in a moment, but two ways to basically for material handling for this. One of the ways is, you know, if we can put a bowl feeder out here where this would be, we can put a bowl feeder out there, and if we can feed the parts in and feed them down that in-feed conveyor, that is a really great way of an automated system, because basically it allows you to just dump the parts into the bowl. Parts can be oriented through the bowl and onto the in-feed conveyor. That's a very, very good way to go. Now, we can also, just to let you know too, we can also have the XC100 with a stalker and a gantry. So I can have a 12-station stalker over here and a gantry to feed the 12-station stalker. So if it's a little bit larger parts, you want a stalker, you can do that, or we can go in and out feed conveyor with a bowl feeder, or you can just place the parts, really short run, you can just place the parts onto the in-feed conveyor. So let's talk a little bit more about the bin picking we've talked, but I have to tell you, in the last, the last month, I think we've sold like 4 of these systems, not exactly like this, but random bin picking, and I'm getting a lot of good responses from customers. So let me just go through this again. The benefits, or why would we go to random bin picking, or why would we go to a bin picking system? One of the main reasons is because people don't want the labor to load parts into the stalker. Come on with me for a second. I just want to take a second and show you what I mean. I'm sure you guys all know what a station stalker is, but let me just, we're going to do this machine. Don't look at this machine. We're going to do that on Thursday. Anyway, come over here. So this is a stalker, okay? This is a stalker. It basically, it's got a screw, you loosen it up, turn the plate, it opens up the 3 fingers or the 3 guides. You place the parts in one by one. This takes labor to do that. These days, people don't want to do that. If they can get away from a stalker, these days they want the least amount of labor possible. So, come on back. So why random bin picking? That's one of the reasons, labor aspect of it. The other thing is part orientation. Many times if I'm doing a casting or a forging that needs some radial orientation, if I'm using a stalker, either I try to orientate with an extra pole or a pin to orientate that part if we need radial orientation. And radial orientation may be, maybe if it's a casting that's got some ears on it or something, Maybe for chucking reasons, we maybe need to orientate it so that we can load it in for the correct chucking location. So there's a variety of reasons why you might need radial orientation. Sometimes on a stalker, it's not easy to do that because you need to add an extra pole, or maybe the feature on the part, it might require a camera. So many times with a stalker, they put the part in the stalker, we have to come over to an extra radial orientation device. Maybe we've got a camera or something like that so that we can rotate it, pick up on a certain feature, OD or ID, and then pick it up and load it. So when you do that, you add more complexity to it and additional cost to it. So enter random bin picking. We tried to do this in 2018. We had the random bin picking, but the problem was the software wasn't there to enable 100%. What's 100%? 100% means I can put the parts in that bin anywhere that I want to. You can see in the bin now, they are all over the place, okay? So that's what random means, just dumped in there at any way that you want, just kind of raw dunnage, okay? So with this, the part orientation is done by the camera system. So let me describe this for you a little bit, okay? So what we have here, and what I'm gonna do is we're gonna run it so you can see it running, and then what we're going to do, like open the door, and I'm gonna explain it to you in a little bit more detail, but just so you see what's running. So we have an LR mate, that's the robot, that is actually picking up the parts from the bin. Now you see right now, okay, you see that light that flashed? So if you look up here, this is the CNC 3D camera system. So we've worked in collaboration directly with CNC in order to, and Fanuc, in order to be able to guarantee 100%. So again, what's 100%? 100% means that we can guarantee that every single one is going to be picked up and oriented correctly and placed on the in-feed conveyor correctly. Every single part. We couldn't do that 4 years ago. 4 years ago, what would happen is we do a few parts, maybe do half of them. Then the robot would look at it and would get confused. We take a photograph of it with the 3D camera system. It didn't know what to do. It couldn't find a part. It couldn't grab one, so the system stopped. So this was the problem 4 years ago. In the last 2 years, we have worked diligently and very hard to develop a 3D camera system that would enable complete random bin picking system that was 100%. So every single part in there, we guarantee will be picked up. So again, back up to the 3D camera system. So what it's doing here, it's coming over and it is going to come over here in just a second. I was going to pick up a part and then it does a 2-point verification. So it's checking now, okay, is that correct orientation? If it is, it places it on the in-feed conveyor in the correct orientation. Picked it up wrong. If it had picked it up wrong, it would drop the part. And then it would go back and look at it again. And just come down here for a second. I want to show you that. You see those red parts down there? Got some red marking on them. So we have those. What we do there is we throw the parts in there. Now, if it's identified as a bad part. So here's what you can do. You identify a particular part. That's a bad part. So for example, if the guy's doing a family of parts and he's worried about mixing one part to another, and he's got like say 3 parts that are identified that are in the area that he's worried about, we can put that into the software to where it will identify part 1, part 2, part 3. And if it looks at those and it sees those in there, it takes that part and takes the bad part and it takes it out of the bin and it'll put it, that's simulated over on that tray there. You see that black tray? That's where the bad parts, what about if I drop the pen in there? You got a pen? Give me your pen. Okay, got a pen. So you say, well, okay, that's Chris, that's great. we can identify some parts. But what about if somebody wants to mess around and just take a pen and throw it in there? So what'll happen then with the pen, it just disregards it. It looks at it, it doesn't know what it is, so it will continue to go after the other parts. It doesn't stop the system, it actually will go after the other parts. Now you can put actually into the software to stop the system if you want to, or if it sees something that doesn't recognize that it is not already pre-programmed as a bad part, it'll just disregard it. And it'll go back there and start picking up the parts. So what you're seeing here is the parts are put in random into the tray. If they're correct, they go on the in-feed conveyor. Now the finished parts come on the out-feed conveyor. The robot will take the finished parts off the out-feed conveyor. You can see that by the white plastic there on the out-feed conveyor. It takes that, and it's taking the finished parts, and it's going to put them on the tray. Now, the only reason we're showing that is to show you that, oh, here it's coming right now. Okay, so it's going to pick up a part. So the robot's going to take the finished part, and it's going to take it, you see it, it's going to take it over there, orient it correctly, and then drop it in. So it's basically showing you that, hey, you've got a robot here. So on the finished parts, if you want to take it over, put a wash station here, you want to put a gauge on here, we can do that. No problem at all. The finished parts are sensitive. You want to put them in a tray system, you can absolutely do that. So you can see there that that's what we're simulating on the finished parts, just dropping them into the tray. It's actually dropping into the bin on the other side. So one other thing before I stop it and I show you is, so the camera system, I don't know if you can see up there, but it's on a slide. So look at me. So that whole 3D camera system slides over. So we work on the first bin, and then you've got a second bin, which is that bin. It'll automatically slide over, and the 3D camera system will automatically be going after the second bin. And you can have that even longer if you wanted to have a bigger system, you want to have more bins, you can absolutely do that. So come around the front for me a little bit. So maybe I don't need to stop it. Maybe I can just do it without stopping it. So I just want to describe the system a little bit to you. This is the operation PLC already designed. So this gives you manual operation over everything. And it gives you also data output. You can see input, output parts, rejected parts. It gives you all of the data, and we can also do data collection on the system as well. Down here is the 3D vision of the, this is directly feedback directly from the CNC camera system. So one other thing before we leave this. So you say, hey, Chris, that's great for these parts, but what about some bigger, smaller, what have you? As far as connecting it to the lathe, we can connect it to any lathe, of course, or a Metron machining center or what have you. Or we can just design and make the bin picking system for your machine. It doesn't have to be a Takamaz or a Metron. We'd like you to be, please, but it doesn't have to be. So we can design the system for you and say, well, what about changeover? Okay, so I'm running these parts right now. I come into a changeover. The system is so smart. Basically, all we have to do is to input a 3D CAD file system, and it will automatically calculate where the robot needs to go, and the whole bin picking system is done basically by just inputting a 3D drawing. It's a little bit of more work to it than that, but so it's very easy for doing a different part, and it's also very, very easy for changeover. So I can tell you that so many people who now disregarded these systems are now very, very interested, because again, labor be getting any better. I don't understand where everybody's gone. They've gone somewhere, to the couch or whatever. But labor, obviously everybody knows labor is everything. So random bin picking is really great because a lot of people's parts come in raw dunnage, however they are, forgings, castings, what have you, they're coming in raw dunnage. And to have people, again, put them in a stalker one by one or what have you, is just not feasible any longer. So now a system like this, which would never have approved on an ROI, now it does. So work with us on this. Again, we're doing a lot more of these. And again, we can connect them to the Takamaz, the Metron, whatever system we're doing, or your system. We can work with you directly. And again, I don't know of anybody else. I'm sure there's somebody. I haven't seen anybody else that guarantees 100% random bin picking. This is the biggest part of the bin picking. And this was the biggest problem in the past, is we just couldn't get to 100%. So before I leave you with this, just one point. When I say one part could be stuck right in the corner, how does it handle that? It'll come over, take one of the fingers from the robot fingers, knock it over, and then it'll come back and look at it and pick it back up. If it's not right, it'll drop it and look at it and come back and pick it back up again. So that's the technology. It's almost IT. It's amazing. The technology of the software is just unbelievably fantastic. So I will leave you with that. We're going to probably go into depth with that again in the future. And I think we already talked about the XC100, so we are good there. Now, as everybody, I think you guys know, on the XC100s, we're running a special now to the end of the year. Very, very good special. I won't mention the price, but it's a very, very great special. Takamaz has introduced, when I was at the Jim Top show recently, they're introducing the new XC100 machine, which is called the XTS-6. Uses the Fanuc 0 ITF and the integrated Fanuc loader, which we're going to do on Thursday. So don't leave the new integrated loader. It's so great. It's unbelievable. Also, the loading time. This one's about a 7-8 seconds load time. The new XTS-6 is like 4 seconds load time. So it's really, really fast. So we'll be getting into that shortly. Thanks, John. Okay, any other questions on this one before I move on? Hands up, no hands up? We're good? Yeah, we can come back to this as well.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Is there a budget cost on the loading?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, for the random bin picking?
Yes.
150 grand.
Okay.
That's everything you're seeing here, basically. Now, you say, well, can we go bigger? Yes, we can. This is an LR mate. We can go to a bigger robot, an M10 and M12 for bigger parts, bigger system and what have you. But that's basically the cost of this particular system here.
All right, thank you.
It includes everything: the base, the machine, the whole thing. Not the XC100, but everything else. So.
Thank you.
You got it. Okay, let's move on a little bit. So again, I mentioned that the XC100 is on special. Now I have them. This is the single. This is the single machine here with in and out feed conveyor on the left-hand side. I have some of these left at the great price. Now I want to come over here. John, you know